Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Um, Today we're going to be talking about how I handled emotions when trading with increased size. So I traded last night. Again, I usually trade Asian session, but for my job, I work Tuesday through Saturday, so I have Mondays off. So I stayed up really late last night, and we're gonna kind of get into that. But first, let's get into the trades, and then we'll kind of talk about the emotions and the
The
psychology
market is open.
and how things went. I'm recording this at 6 o'clock, so that's why you heard that. Um, so if we go into my trades, my first trade was a loss. I lost about like $470 on this trade. Um, what happened was, again, I trade Asian session, so normally I start trading at about 8 o'clock, right? I took a trade at around 8:29, 8:28-ish, right? The reason why is because last night we opened up, had a huge gap up, and then we kind of fell down a little bit. So that's a bullish move, right? I always treat these gaps, whether you gap up or you gap down. If you gap up, it's a bullish move. If you gap down, it's a bearish move, right? So what happened here was I could see that we were slowly climbing up, and we were holding this base. So I was like, hey, we might actually pop up here, right? My first mistake was I didn't draw my zones correctly. So if you see on TradingView here, where I draw my zones, I usually use volume profile to draw my zones out. And you can see here that my zone was drawn to this point. However, I was looking at the chart thinking, okay, we broke the zone and we're coming back to retest, right? At around this time. But that wasn't actually the case. I was focused on here. I didn't look to the left and see, hey, actually, this is still part of the high volume node, right? That I like to trade off of. So if I had drawn it correctly, I would see that actually we did not break the zone. We're still in it. But my strategy is we break the zone, we clear it comfortably, right? Which even with my zone drawn a little bit lower, we still didn't really clear it comfortably. So again, two mistakes in one there, right? But we clear it comfortably, we come back, retest, show a sign that we want to continue to move forward, whether it's up or down. In this case, it'd be up, and then keep going from there. So I took the trade at about 8:28. So let's fast forward a little bit. So I took the trade around this area here, right? Again, there was really no confirmation that we're heading higher. Nothing is telling me that we're heading higher, right? And then I realized my mistake later on. So mistake number two was not closing the trade when you were up. I was up around here, maybe about $60. I should have just closed the trade, waited for about confirmation. I didn't notice it in time though, and I wanted to hold on once I did notice it, right? And then we ended up getting stopped out a little bit later on. Now, a little bit later on was like an hour of agony, pretty much, right? Where we came all the way down here. I think I got stopped out at this pivot point. So if you see here, this pivot point, I got stopped out here, right? So right here. When you started bouncing from there, I was like, oh man, but I accepted the loss. It was really good that I accepted the loss. It was actually awesome, right? Because a week ago, almost a week ago now, I didn't accept the loss. I just tilted. I blew my account. I almost blew a second account as well that night, which is this account that I'm trading right now. And it could have gone very wrong for me again, but this time I accepted it. I wasn't even upset about it or anything. I was just like, hey, like I traded how I thought I should trade. I took the wrong trade. I should have gotten out earlier. In fact, I even added down here thinking, oh well, maybe we could be bouncing and head back to these levels, even though it was a wrong trade. And um obviously it didn't work out. So I got stopped out. I was down about $470, right? You see here, this was the bottom of the zone. It's so crazy how it works. So let's fast forward a little bit, right? So we came all the way down. So this is about where I got stopped out. And then here you can see now we're starting to bounce from here. So I was like, oh, maybe I can get in here, but it's like that's not how I trade, right? I was actually hoping we would break this low break these lows over here, come back to retest up, right? Because we had a huge gap, right? And then start coming down. And then my bias would shift to bearish instead of bullish. But that's not what happened. Instead, we continued higher. So this is kind of where I start going into the psychology aspect, right? I knew that I would not take a trade unless it fit my criteria perfectly. I was obsessed with that last night. I've been trying to be obsessed with that um since I blew my account. I still messed up. I still messed up last week doing that. But I'm trying my best to take high quality A plus setups. Um there's a guy that I watch, his name is Cole Trades. He's like I think he's like 18, 19-year-old trader who talks about taking 30 trades in a row, 30 trades in a row that fit your criteria. And if you do that, he promises you that you'll be profitable. And obviously it's extremely hard to do, you know? I mean, I would have broken the rule last night. And he says that if you break it, even if it's just one time, you slip up just one time, you got to reset your account. And I'm like, I don't have the bread for that, bro. But um I really do believe that if you have a good system, you have a good process, if you just stick to that process, like I've said in prior video, if you just stick to that process, you're going to be profitable. So last night, I was like, I got the time. I don't work on Monday. Um, I can stay up. I'm obsessed with taking a good setup. Um, I think last night I was a bit too obsessed though, because honestly, I should be going to sleep. I should be okay going to sleep on a loss, you know, but I was like, I want to make sure, one, that I can take my setup, but two, again, self-doubt, that my setup works, right? I'm like, oh, well, does my setup actually work? You know, will it actually work? It's like, yes, it does work, Vic. It works. You have to understand that it works. You have to be confident that it works. And you have to be patient, right, in order for it to occur, right? So I didn't trade again. Literally, I got stopped out at 9:24. I didn't take a trade again until about 1:45 in the morning, 1:46 in the morning, right? I did not take a trade until then. So what happened was I took these trades here, right? Let's fast forward. We'll fast forward until that time period here. So that way you guys can see kind of how it looked on my chart. So I waited hours. I was just hanging out, playing some FIFA on my phone, playing some Dragon Ball, you know? But then this happened. This happened at 12:48. So that's confirmation number one for my setup. Okay, we got to break clearly above the zone. We look to the left, we adjust our zones. Nothing has really changed so far, right? We got to break clearly above the zone, right? So now I'm thinking like, okay, when can I take my trade? My trade, I can take it when it comes back into this zone, right? I was like, oh, maybe I could take it here. I was thinking that last night because we got a couple bottom wicks here. But again, no high volume here, and we never came back into the zone, so I waited. I just continued to wait patiently until we came back into the zone. But let me check to see if this became a high volume node. So yes, this did become a high volume node. I'm pretty sure. Kind of tested it here, right? So if we come back, so yeah, we took some trades at about 145. I just want to know why we kind of took it here. Because it did kind of retest the zone, retest that support level, but it didn't really retest it as well as I would like now that I look back on it. We had this nice hammer candle here, so that's really good too. Um, yeah, I don't know if that was wrong or not, if I was wrong on where I actually ended up taking the trade, but it does look like it. Or was that 2 a.m.? Honestly, I can't remember, and this is why I like to do these immediately after um I trade, because then I kind of understand like, hey, this is what I'm doing. But I do think I took this trade, right, at these levels here. So about the 140 to 150 area, which is about here, right? It settled, it came back into the zone, showing some levels of support here. End up taking the trade, and then we just exploded. right? So honestly, it was a really good trade. Now that I look back on it, was it an A plus trade? Probably not, but it definitely was an A or A minus or, at the very least a B plus trade of where you waited for it to come into the zone, show confirmation that, hey, we're starting to bounce, and then we head higher. The issue with me last night, though, was I also traded NQ, right? So you can see NQ here, right? It came into the zone. I actually took one a bit earlier, but what I realized, I've never traded London session before, and 2 a.m. I believe is London session. That's why we had this huge spike in volume, and it stopped me out on NQ. So when I took it, I was down about a couple $100 already, and I'm like, oh man, like I took a trade. Why did I take it here? But I still believed in the trade, right? If you look at MNQ, I was still in the trade. I didn't get out of the trade until 117 where I closed it because I was like, bro, we're fine. We made enough money off of that. But here, I was like, I don't know why, you know, and I think that's a psychology aspect of it too, is that you're waiting and waiting and waiting for the perfect setup. You finally get it, but then you're getting out because you're scared, right? Because you're over leveraged, and you're scared. And what I mean by that is that the trade, I was in the exact same trade, right? MNQ, in fact, I probably got a better fill on NQ than I did MNQ, right? On NQ, I got a better fill, and I should have stayed in, right? I should have stayed in the trade because I was still in it on MNQ. Why wouldn't I be? You know? And we showed some signs of heading higher, so I was really nervous in this aspect too. But the point is that if you take a trade and it's a good trade, you believe it's a good trade, right? You shouldn't be getting stopped out because of your size unless you're risking too much. At that time, I lost about 10 points, about 9.25 points on there. It's like I know I can risk more than that, I know I should be comfortable with that, but I didn't want to lose, right? I didn't want to lose. I just wanted to make sure that I was still in the trade. So here we got back in at 84, took one off at 102. Um, anyway, it was kind of confusing. But anyway, I ended up adding up to three MNQ or three NQs, and we got stopped out here lastly for 138. We took one off at 107, 119, and then 138. It went as high as 156, and that was the day done for me. So if we look back, it was about a $1,500 day, which was awesome. I was confident in the setup, and it actually ended up working. Looking back on it though, I probably could have done a better job waiting a bit um for the zones, but it did come back here, and which is where I ended up taking that trade in this area here on NQ, which worked out perfectly. So here I did get scared again. I kind of got stopped out, came back in, went back up, and it was a great trade. So yeah, handling size is very difficult whenever you're in a situation where you're like, I don't want to lose, right? But I continue to learn that you can't be scared of losing. You can't be scared of taking your setup when it comes up. Like in the situation here, it wasn't a perfect setup, but it was a setup that was close enough. You can't be scared of the outcome, right? Whatever you do in trading, no matter what you do, the only thing, and this is what Stoicism teaches us, whatever you do, the only thing I can control is whether I click buy or sell and when I decide to take the trade. That's it. Whatever happens, right, in this market, whether the market goes up or down all around, it doesn't matter, right? All of this stuff can happen right here. I don't control that. I just controlled whether I decide to buy here or I buy here or I sell here or I sell here. That's all I control. And that's something that I'm continuously trying to learn, continuously trying to improve on. Just basically letting myself surrender to the market. Be like, you do whatever you want. I'm just going to try to take advantage of how you move, you know? I was on a walk today and I was kind of thinking about how trading is. And it's kind of like jump rope, right? Where you have a group of school children they're moving the jump rope, right? And then you have one of the children kind of waiting and seeing when to jump in, and then they finally jump in. They jump a few times, they're successful, and then they jump out, right? And the next child comes in, they're waiting, they jump in, jump a few times, jump out, right? And then if they mess up, it's like, hey, you messed up, you come back out, you wait, you get the rhythm right, you get the timing right, you jump in, you finally get it, and then you jump out, right? And that's kind of how trading is, right? I don't take this trade unless we break the zone, clearly, right? I also don't take this trade if we don't come back to the zone. Right now, this is kind of like a barely skim the zone, but it worked out well, right? Normally, most of the time, if we break like that, I kind of want it to come back, whether it's a VWAP or to the point of control as well. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like at least we came back to those levels, and then we can take a trade from there. But in this scenario, it didn't happen, but we still took advantage of it using volume price analysis, right? So that's how trading is. It's kind of like jump rope. Like you're waiting for the timing, you're waiting to see when you can jump in, when you can get in, and then you go. So, um, really good day. We're really close to passing uh this combine, um, which is really awesome. Also, too, we did get a free reset for anyone who uses Top Step. We get a free reset on our combines. If you end up blowing your account, you can reset it for free based off of the market volatility last week, which is really cool as well. Um, but yeah, so we're one day away. Maybe one day, maybe 2 days away from passing this combine and getting into our second ever funded account. So we just gotta trade smart. We gotta trade right. We have to be obsessed with taking good setups, obsessed with the process as well, and hopefully getting better. So maybe I'll do it tonight. Maybe I'll pass it tonight. But if I don't pass it tonight, then we're definitely gonna try to pass it in the shortened week because there's no trading on Friday for Easter. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Um, I'm gonna continue to make these videos, continue to document my journey, um, and keep doing my best. I know today's video is kind of out of whack because I didn't record it as soon as I was done trading. But I do appreciate, whoever's watching, you know, watching all the way through and supporting the channel. So thanks, guys. Continue to work hard and continue to trade stoically.